Well, hi everybody. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program. I'm not sure. Gosh, I'm so mad. From McLean, and I'm here today to guide you through your Yin Yoga practice. That's right, everyone. I think Uncle Buck threw up on the floor over here. But we're going to get started anyway. Because nothing says I need some yoga in my life like the dog doing that. All right, you're gathering as many props as you need for today's class. I am encouraging couch cushions. I am suggesting bolsters, regular blocks, pillows. I got some of my meditation cushions nearby. I'm going to stick with those for today. We're getting started right here on the floor in a comfortable, easy seated position. We're going to hang out here in this comfortable, easy seated position for just about 3 minutes. So start to come into it, start to just relax as much as possible. No need to make any extra changes just yet. Starting to slow your breath down. Just right here, pardon me. And let's run through some of the standards of Yin Yoga. All right, so today you're working to create a noticeable stretch. A noticeable stretch. It might be a little bit uncomfortable. It should not at any point feel painful. I think it made it worse. Well, the good news is I'm going to encourage you to have your eyes closed throughout as much of today's practice as possible. So it doesn't matter that I'm riding the struggle bus myself a little. That's why we've got this class for when you're feeling tired or a little bit exhausted, whether that be mentally or physically. We've got 2 more minutes just to breathe right here. So start to notice the quality of your breath now that we've slowed things down a little bit. Are you breathing just at the very top of your chest, or are you breathing all the way down to the bottom of your diaphragm? If you weren't taking those big belly diaphragmatic breaths, now's the time to start. Perhaps you want to make a little bit of an adjustment to the way that you are sitting. Don't be like me and stand up and make major changes. But maybe just like noticing if you're leaning forward or backward big time. Checking in on the quality of breath, making sure that your exhale is a little bit longer than your inhale to promote those feelings of relaxation. Throughout today's practice, we're going to do our best to create as much stillness as possible. Some days it's really easy to create that stillness, and some days it is just not. Keep in mind that if your eyes are moving, your mind is definitely moving. And we want to create that stillness, not just physically from what you see in our bodies, but mentally. Stop your train of thought from being anywhere, but right here, right now, focus on your breath, noticing where you feel the stretch, relaxing into it as much as you can. And remember, if at any point your noticeable stretch really does change from being noticeable and uncomfortable to actually being painful, you gotta make that change. You gotta find an adjustment, find a new place that you can just relax, breathe, and be. All right, our first more active posture of the day, it's gonna be a full dragonfly. So go ahead, open your legs as wide as feels comfortable for you. Take a moment to really make some adjustments, find some grounding through your sit bones. Presumably you feel a big stretch happening on those inner thighs. You can do whatever feels good with your hands, but I want you to know that we're going to be here for 4 minutes. So it might feel a little bit better to find some sort of a hinge forward at your hips. Even if you're not going super far forward, find a place to relax your chin. Oh my gosh. Just let it be. You know, if your eyes were open, you might have noticed that panic on my face. Because I realized I couldn't find this. And you know what? I decided to still let go. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And as soon as I relaxed, you know what? I found my timer. Also, it would have been okay anyway. We've got just under 3 minutes left right here. Keep breathing and relaxing. Remember, in Yin, you can tuck your chin to your chest as much as you want to, or as much as feels good. When we're focusing on the stretch that we're creating in our legs, and you're using these props to help relax your upper body, relax your back as much as you can. You know the spots where you tend to build and hold tension. I know for me, whenever I start to feel stressed, my shoulders really start creeping up towards my ears. Also, I start to squeeze my glutes. So think about where you display or tense when things are stressful. And on every exhale, I want you to check in on that spot and make sure that it did not clench up. Final minute right here in this full dragonfly. Next up, we're going to come into a half dragonfly, or you can think of it like a half butterfly. I'm going to start with my right leg, and I'm going to fold the right leg in. Maybe you just have the heel closer towards the center line of the body. Maybe you bring your heel all the way over towards the inner thigh. Just like before, I'm going to use props as much as possible to relax right here in this big deep stretch. Make sure your sit bones are still on the ground, and that's pretty much the only thing we're really making sure of right now. And if it feels too much to have those forward folds from your hips, you can bring your hands behind you. And if the floor feels really far away behind you, maybe even placing your hands on a block so you can take a nice lift of your chest. Make sure you're feeling some sort of a stretch, presumably a little bit in your bent knee, legs, hip flexor, and once again, maybe throughout the groins, maybe a little bit more towards the quad as you're taking this forward hinge, possibly a little bit deeper into the lower back. We're gonna be here for 2 more minutes. So check in with yourself, check in with your breath. Are you still finding any tension in those particular spots where you typically hold tension? Are you holding your breath at all? Because you came into a stretch that might be a little deeper than honestly feels comfortable or sustainable. And where is your mind right now? Is it focused on this stretch, on this breath, and now that breath? Or is it starting to drift off at all? Totally normal if other thoughts are starting to come into your head. And it might take a couple minutes as class starts for you to quiet those external thoughts. Just do the best that you can with the body, mind, and breath that you have today to truly focus on the right here, right now, on nourishing yourself and feeling good, because you're so worth this time. If you took any sort of a forward fold, carefully lift yourself up. Bring the prop to the outside of your bent leg. If you're like me, you got that right leg bent. And then you're gonna fold the left leg in, coming into some sort of deer posture. So either 90 degrees with both legs. If that's too much of a stretch for you, perhaps you fold that left leg in a little bit closer, or option to turn and twist towards the side. That feels so good. I'm going to go for this turn and twist option, and I'm bringing that prop towards my elbows and my belly for some relaxation here. My left glute cheek is no longer touching the floor since I took this twist. And that's okay. That's okay. But I'm still stretching it in the direction of the floor to get as much length through the spine as possible. We've just got one more breath right here before we're going to come into a sleeping swan. So hands come down on the mat in front of your bent forward leg. We're going to extend the back leg towards the back. Right toes are close to the left side of the mat. I'm going to bring my right knee over towards the right side of the mat. Maybe your heel is close towards your hip. Maybe your heel is a little bit more in line / parallel towards the floor. Take your time, lower yourself down. This time thinking about bringing more of your extended leg hip flexor towards the floor. So it's quite likely your right glute should not be touching down on the mat. We're going to spend just over 2 minutes right here. In your sleeping swan, you don't have to use as many props as I'm using today if you happen to be watching me. But you're welcome to, especially if the floor feels far. Keeping a big focus on the stretch throughout. The hips, the glute. And then back to your breath. We've got 1 minute left. Start a total body scan from your head to your toes. Can you relax a little bit more in your neck, in your chest or shoulders? Can you relax your hands? All right, you beautiful swan. Go ahead, bring your hands in closer towards your front leg. And carefully release yourself back onto your glutes. As you get there, start to draw your left leg in, knees up towards the ceiling, hands behind you. Take a gentle windshield wipe of your legs in opposite directions. Notice how things feel. Do you feel any more open on the right side? It's okay if you don't. How's the right side feel compared to the left side? Do you notice any sort of a difference? And again, totally okay if you don't. Let's go ahead, sit ourselves up, find the same stretches, opposite side. So folding your left leg in to wherever feels comfortable. Right leg extends out towards the side. Maybe your hands are behind you and you're using a prop to lift the floor up. Maybe you've got a nice forward hinge. We're here for 3 minutes. It's absolutely your choice how you'd like to enjoy it. Find that one spot, relax your eyes, relax your mind, relax your breath. If you're like me, your thoughts might have started to creep in towards icky stuff in your life, like work, household responsibilities. I don't want to give you any more ideas because I want to let you know if you're like me and that happened. We've got a little more than 1 minute to go. Tune back in to checking in on this stretch. Every inhale, noticing where you feel it, and every exhale, imagine just letting that stress go. Or maybe you want to zone out to your breath itself. Perhaps you're practicing a little Ujjayi breathing, creating a slight snoring sensation with the tongue pressed onto the roof of your mouth. And then inhale and exhale can sound like the roll of the ocean, which I personally find extremely relaxing. Take your time, carefully press yourself up from this half dragonfly / half butterfly. And next we're going to come into our deer pose. So you can either hang out right here in this deer pose. for 1 minute, or already turn towards your left leg. Maybe get that actual little stretch into your low back. Find what feels good. Create as much relaxation as you can. And a noticeable stretch. So next we're going to come into that sleeping swan. So pressing your hands to the floor in front of you, extending your right leg out this time, maybe walking it back. Spatially limited. Lowering yourself down. Really relax on the floor as much as you can. If the floor feels far, let it come to you. We've got a total of 3 minutes here. We're already in it to win it. You don't have to find the same exact stretch on one side as you do on the other. It would be not surprising at all if one side of your body was a little tighter than the other side of the body. One minute left. Take your time. Let's carefully press ourselves up. Roll back onto those glutes. Bring your right knee in. Soles of the feet to the floor. Knees out towards the ceiling. Take that big windshield wipe of those legs side to side. How do things feel this time? One more big hip opener before we bring some love to the upper body. So next up is butterfly. Butterfly, not bound angle. So think about having those feet a little further forward. Oops. And then a delightful idea, if your back feels good, of bringing yourself forward. Now, if this butterfly is already a major challenge and your knees are coming nowhere near the floor, place your props underneath of your knees to help bring the floor to you. Maybe it feels good to find this hinge from your hips or even adding in a little bit of rounding after you've taken that hinge to work to bring your forehead towards the soles of your feet. We're going to spend 2 more minutes right here. Now let's say your forehead still doesn't touch your amazing props. Maybe you stack your hands. What does it take? Find a little bit of rounding here if it feels good in your upper back. Great. Take your time if you found this forward fold and lifting yourself up, and then extend your legs out in front of you. You can bob your knees or windshield wipe your feet. Maybe even take a big opening of your chest, squeeze together the shoulder blades, and then walk hands forward. We're either gonna enjoy staff pose or caterpillar next. So hinging from the hips, not rounding from the upper back. Chest is pulled forward of those arms. Shoulder blades are engaged towards the spine. Fingertips can be right down here by your hips. Just working to lift yourself up to find length from the waist and lift from the waist, not just lift of shoulders coming towards ears. So chest is still open. You can hang out right here for the next minute, or if it feels good on your back, you can take this big forward fold. You can once again use your props. I think I'm gonna hang out in staff pose today. That feels really good. Flexing toes back towards your face for a little engagement. Also take a moment, relax, maybe shake it out just a little bit. Go ahead, fold your legs into the side. Come up onto your knees. You get a little bit of free motion. Hands, palms right underneath of your chest. Give yourself a couple cat-cows. Take 2 full minutes right here to do whatever version of cat-cow feels best for you today. Maybe you're sticking with some traditional cat-cows, keeping those elbows pretty straight, locked. Just finding the flexion and rounding through your spine. Maybe giving yourself some circles with your hips. If you do something in one direction, give yourself the chance to do it in the opposite direction. Maybe some circles with your shoulders. Maybe just try out a couple different things, but moving slowly. Continuing to focus on your breath. And every inhale, just noticing where you feel a stretch. And every exhale, just a little bit longer than your inhale, promoting that sensation of relaxation. Big stretch coming into the upper back next with puppy pose. We're going to be in some version of puppy pose for a total of 4 minutes. If it feels good, you can walk both hands forward and release your chest down towards the floor. Hips stay as on top of knees as possible. If this is not sustainable, if your chest is nowhere near the floor, think about bringing in a prop, like a block, and bringing that block underneath of your chest. You can even bring in an extra prop to place something under your forehead if it still feels pretty far away. If this is too much on your shoulders, with both arms forward, go ahead and fold one hand in. I'm even making a little fist with my hand. So that I can rest my head on that instead of grabbing another prop. And some gentle pressure of the chest down towards the floor to really feel this big stretch through the upper back and shoulders. If it's too much in your right shoulder, if you just have one arm extended or in the elbow, take a little bend of the elbow and so you can press your chest down towards the floor. Just a couple breaths left right here if you're doing one side at a time. We're more than halfway through total. If you're doing one side at a time though, switch those arms out. Extend the opposite arm out. Think about even spreading your glutes a little bit while you're here, getting that extra stretch through the whole back side of the body at one time. Alright, if you have one or both hands forward, you might want to gently start to walk those hands in a little bit closer. Maybe you open your knees, sink your glutes back towards your heels, because next up we have a traditional child's pose. Nice long child's pose coming your way. If you don't want any more mucus draining towards your head, I don't know about you, but my summer allergies have been for real. I like to place a block under my head for an extended child's pose. Find that big stretch that works for you. Even if you have a generous bend in your elbows, you can still press into your elbows if you're not pressing into your hands' palms. To stretch glutes back in the direction of your heels. 1 minute.